Look at that. How you been, man?
I've been out for a couple of weeks, man.
I thought you meant then just like, oh, I've been out, as if to say like, oh yeah, 2 weeks have gone past, and I've just been like, no, out
I've just been out,
partying. It's been out.
you
Isn't
know.
that great? Though? It's like when you're a kid, isn't it? You ask your parents, or you get in, and your parents ask where you've been. I've been out,
I've been
and
out,
they
yeah.
get mad. They get mad at you for it. And it's only years later you think that probably was really annoying.
Yeah.
It was really annoying. Like, so where you been, son? Out. Who with? My mates.
Especially when
Doing
I was
what?
like late teenager, where it'd be I've been gone for 4 days
It's what
without
you've been.
basically any contact other than I'm fine. And it's like, well, where have you been? Ah, it's just
Out.
out.
Yeah, out and about. Who with? You know. My mates doing what, this and that. It's like, nah! And then as you get older, you realize that's infuriating. But yeah, we're back after a brief hiatus. It'd have been nice if the hiatus was for a nice reason or
Yeah, it
just
would
a
have
fun
been.
reason, but it wasn't, was it, Lucas? You were unfortunately convalescing for the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, just, the casual snake bite to the eye. It's all
Is
right.
that
It's
what,
all
is that what
right.
we're going with? We're
That's
going with
what
the
we're
snake
just
bite.
running with now.
We're running with snake bite to the eye. Yes, but we're back now. And what episode are we on?
It's 88 today.
88. Kid hell.
Yeah.
It'd have been more fun if it was a fun number, but it's not. It's just 88. It's
Uh,
a boring number.
what's the
Two fat.
bingo term for that?
I think it's two fat ladies.
Two fat ladies. There we go.
It's
We'll
two
return
two
on
fat
two
la-
fat ladies.
It's two fat ladies 88 and then 22 sitting ducks. They're like little
Okay.
duckies. But yeah, man, like I guess we'll start with you because you're the one who's had just an absolute mare for the last couple of days.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to get into it, that's fair enough. We could just say that you've been away because you weren't feeling very well.
Well, yeah. All it was I had like emergency surgery that was not actually like. It's weird to say. It's
That's the
not
most
anything
British
life
thing.
endangering, but
But
at
it
the
was
same
emergency surgery.
time, it was an infection, so it needed to be sorted out straight away.
But that's the most British thing I think I've heard you say of, well, it's nothing much. It was just some emergency surgery. It's so casual, the approach. Like, yeah, I just had a little bit of surgery.
Just a little bit of emergency surgery, guys. It's
That's the one.
okay.
It's great being British, isn't it? But
It is.
like, just you've not been well, and just
No,
the
and
fact that it
yeah,
was all right. Got a
it
week off.
it was a bit shit. And then like a week later, Jenna had planned surgery. So then we were both out of it and just relying on like friends and family to just help out a little bit. And yeah, it's all been a bit of a mare.
But her planned surgery was for a more serious thing than your emergency
Yeah,
surgery.
it's very weird.
It's weird, isn't it? Like you can book in to have very serious surgery and walk around just with the thing that needs to be surgically operated on. It's like it's fine, but it's
Hmm.
also not because you need to have surgery.
Yeah, it's all weird the way that it works, but it's one of those of just like, I guess when you're in that kind of surgery where it's like planned, it's like, yeah, you go on the wait list, but when it's me, it's like, no, you have to go to A&E and someone will sort you right fucking out.
Yeah, the doctor just comes out and he's got the knife. He's just
walks
got the
in,
scalpel. He's just
fucking,
there.
just like the general anesthetic is just
That's the
already
one.
in you. You didn't know.
I'm gonna carve you up like a turkey. It's right here in the operating room, right here in A&E.
So yeah, couple of like, that's the thing is like I had an extra week off than I planned to have because I planned to have a week off to look after Jenna and do a bit of streaming and a bit of working while she was out of it. But instead, I was the one who was out of it as well, and I couldn't do any fucking work, so I've missed out on like 2 weeks.
I'm just imagining you both lying down, crawling to make the other one a cup of tea.
Like, no!
It's like, no, I've got to look after you.
Yeah.
Like, do you only go out with someone, you try and pay for a drink?
It's
They
like
won't let
that,
you.
but just battling over who can help each other out around the house.
Like when you go out for a meal with one of your parents and you try and pay for it, and they're like, no, it's me. It's like, no, I've got a job now. I can do it.
But
Like
like,
that.
I always have that to and fro with my dad of like, oh yeah, but like, I've got a job now. I want to pay for your meal, but now he's like, yeah, but I don't have to pay for 3 kids anymore, so I've got way more expendable money than I used to have, so I want to pay for your meal. Oh, okay.
It's
Get
one of
it.
those things, isn't it? Well, I'm glad you are feeling better.
Yeah, I am for the most part, and like still struggling to stay at my desk for like a whole day, a little bit low energy still, but for the most part, like on the road to recovery, and can do a couple of hours of streaming here and there, so I'm all good now for the most part. But yeah, like I guess hello to everyone in my chat and stuff. Obviously, we won't refer to it too much because we are podcasting, but thank you everyone for joining live. And how have you been, Karl?
Well, I've just been wandering around my house, just lonely.
Oh yeah, yeah.
because my girlfriend left for a month or so, and
Hmm.
I was expecting when she left, oh, well, I can just record a bunch with Lucas. I can get really far ahead on my streaming and my editing and all that stuff. And just pretty much the day she left, got a message of I'm in surgery, and I was like, oh, okay. And we're taking a break from filming as well. So it's like, oh, so
Hmm.
we're not filming anything. I'm not streaming anything. I'm not recording anything to edit because Lucas isn't very well because I got ahead on everything in anticipation of just recording a bunch in a row.
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't know what to do with myself. So I've just been wandering around my house doing that thing where it's like, was looking around and I was like, oh, I guess I'll clean up a little bit. So I like cleaned up my house. But then I went, but then I'll have nothing to do on Sunday. So I
Hmm.
plan to clean on Sunday. And it makes it sound like my life is really, it's just more that everyone else I know, by like you and Nisha and stuff like that, like they all work 9 to 5 jobs. So during
Hmm.
the day, I don't really have that much to do. And I made it a goal for myself not to get too much into work because I'm supposed to be taking a break from work briefly. So even though I said I wanted to edit stuff, I want to do like a little bit of work each day
Hmm.
so that I can like keep my mind stimulated. But I'm avoiding like just anything that's overly strenuous or mentally taxing, like filming for 4.5 hours like we sometimes do.
Yeah. Fair. Yeah.
So I was hoping to get like a little bit of work, like an hour here, an hour there, and then spend stuff doing like the more lax, the daisical stuff, like just editing, because
Hmm.
that's just like just busy work that I need to do anyway. But yeah, none of that. So I've been sat, not doing very much. Try to play like through some video games that I wanted to play through, but then got really bored of them.
Any
So all I
standouts that you want to talk about?
well, no, it's because my PlayStation, the PS4, the controller dies after like 3 hours.
Yeah.
And it's that annoying thing. I've only got a cable that's like what, a foot long. I think it's the only one I could find that fits my PS4 controller. So it's that thing of like I thought, oh, I'll play through Last of Us 2 again.
Hmm.
I want to sit down and have a really like big just gaming session. I'll sit down like like 5 o'clock. I've done all my stuff, all my writing, all my cleaning, all stuff. I'll go to the gym. I'll go for a run. Sit down and play that. 3 hours in, it's like charge your controller. I guess I'll take a 2 hour break, but this is what I was doing to take a break from, so I don't know what to do with that 2 hours. It's like, oh, god damn it.
You got to
And I've
take
said
a
it before.
break from having a break.
Yeah, I've said it before, but watching me try and relax is one of the most stressful things you'll ever see. I'm so bad at relaxing. I have to force myself. And even on days when I'm relaxing, I still work.
Hmm. Yeah. That's the thing is that I don't have a problem relaxing as such, but then like because I had surgery, like I had a kind of similar issue of like I could game, but only for like a couple hours at a time before I'd started feeling like tired or in pain and just
Mm.
had to kind of lie down. And then
Do
I
you
was
play
like,
Last of Us 2 a bit then as well? Just
no,
emotional pain.
to be fair, I didn't. But like, I just yeah, it was one of those of like, well, I've got time off and I want to play some games, but all I need to do right now is lie down on the sofa and try and feel better. And it's like I don't want to do that. I want to like enjoy my time off, but I couldn't enjoy my time off. And then there was like a heat wave, and like because my wound's healing, I couldn't just get in the shower constantly, like to try and cool myself down. And
Yeah,
it was
that's
just
what I'm
like,
like.
ugh, just yeah, not the best.
That's what I'm like, where it's I thought to myself, well, I could just sit down and write a bunch of articles. But then I thought, no, because then I'm doing the opposite of what I said. I'm supposed to be making myself, I'm supposed to be re-energizing on a mental level to get better,
Hmm.
fitter, and just in a healthier place, like mentally, for when we all get back to the office.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there looking at my laptop, going, maybe I'll do a little bit of it. No, watch TV instead, and I'll put something on TV. I'm like, I don't know what I want to watch. And then I'll scroll for like half an hour, and I think, well, while I'm scrolling, maybe I'll do a little bit of writing. Like, no,
No,
don't
Carl.
write. Or maybe I'll go for like, I'll just do exercise while I'm sat here and I've got like my weights out and I start doing them. It's like, no, stop doing that. You're supposed to be relaxing. I'm
Yeah.
going to be awful when I retire. I'm going to be the worst. I'm like my dad.
Hmm.
My dad is fucking hopeless when he tries to relax. Like he just stands up every 5 minutes and does a loop around the house looking for stuff to do. It's like he walks around with just like a cloth wiping stuff. It's like when I'm there, it's like, Dad, everything's clean. He goes, oh no, I saw a fingerprint while I'm here. Like you'll be watching TV at like 9:30 at night, and he'll come through with Hoover because he spotted a crisp on. It's like, no word of a lie. I once woke up to the sound of like what I thought was a lawnmower because I could just hear it sound
Hmm.
outside. I'm like, is Dad mowing the lawn? I thought we haven't got a lawnmower, and I looked outside and he was hoovering the lawn. because my mum smoked and she'd put a cigarette butts out on the lawn. So he went out with a hoover to hoover the lawn. It's like, fucking hell, Dad. Like about 7 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday, hoovering the lawn. Who
Oh
must have
god.
thought he was insane?
Yeah, like you can tell Jen or I have both been like out of it the last couple of like weeks or days or whatever, because the other day I just walked downstairs and like, you're right, yeah. Jenna's just like lying on the sofa looking at her phone. It's like, did you know that you can get Roomba lawnmowers? And it's like you can get automatic lawnmowers that just go up and down your grass. And I was like,
I want to get one of them and put it on shag carpeting just to see what happens. Because that's the thing. If you don't realize that the Roomba you've got is a lawnmower one, that just sounds like the toe annihilator. That's gonna just fucking shred some people's toes.
that's a drinking game, isn't it? Like you've got to like have a shot every time the lawnmower Roomba attacks your toes.
No, what you do is you put it on the floor when you've and just tell everyone to keep the feet down, and that's how you keep things interesting. Like corks on the end of it. That sounds so dangerous.
Mm,
Like,
yeah.
oh, a Roomba's one thing. And the thing is, Roombas themselves constantly cause issues. I have one in my house. First day I got it, it flew downstairs. It's got a specific setting that says it will not go down the stairs, but there's a specific part of my stairs where some light shines on them, and it's infrared controlled. And the infrared
Ah,
was
okay.
confused by the light and thought that just the warm air was floor and just went off the edge of the stairs. Another day, my girlfriend has a hula hoop. She has like a weighted hula hoop,
Hmm.
and that's just in the front room, where in our little exercise area I've set aside. And we put the room on. We went out, came back in. It got stuck inside the hula hoop by knocking it over and cleaned that one circle of the floor for 4 hours. It's like, God damn it! It's more effort.
I remember when you just sent us a message like, "Oh, my Roomba got trapped," and it was like in that tiny little alcove on
Yeah,
your balcony bit, and it's like, just I don't know how to get back. I've knocked something over and I'm stuck.
yeah. Ironically, it knocks over my Hoover because I have a Hoover to get like just do when I do a deep clean. So it knocks
Hmm.
over my Hoover and the pipe from the Hoover stopped the Roomba from getting out. So I just like to think it was just like boxing it in. It's like saw its replacement was having none of that. But like, yeah, and then you have all like the crazy stories online. Like the one that gets me, it tickles me inside. Is a guy just uploaded a picture onto Twitter or something of like, well, I bought a Roomba today and it ran over my puppy shit. And puppy shit on the floor, and it's just the
Oh.
entire floor. I need to find the picture because it's fucking great. Because you just look at it and you go, "That's a rough day."
It's like cleaning up shit off your floor is already bad enough, but then it just getting smudged all over. It's like, oh no.
I've got the picture now. I'm gonna send it to the Discord just so you can have a look because it's so much worse than you're imagining. Because you imagine, like, because you imagine that it's just everywhere, but no, it's just in a straight line.
It looks like it's trying to draw a pentagon out on
Yeah,
the
it's just
floor.
like it's worse because that makes it somehow worse because that means you can see how little the Roomba actually cleaned before it gave up.
Yeah.
It happened in mine. It like ran over a pebble on the floor. I had a pebble stuck in one of my boots that was on the floor, and he ran it over and has put like a 15-inch long gash in my floor.
Oh no.
And then sometimes I'll come in and it's trapped because it gets stuck in the sun, and the sun's too hot, so it thinks it's trapped. And it's like these are the things that are supposed to make your life easy, and it caused me nothing but fucking hassle and grief.
Oh god, but it does give you some content for a podcast, I suppose.
It does, and I'm not sure if that's worth it or not.
I don't know. It's like it slightly cleans your floor, causes a bunch of problems, and gives you something to talk about. But is that worth
But that,
like the 200 quid you spend on it?
because that gardening one sounds terrifying. Because what happens if the gardening one runs over cat shit?
Just like everywhere.
Just everywhere. I still remember, and this is probably one of the most dangerous things I ever did as a kid. Is like my dad borrowed my uncle's lawnmower and left it on the lawn, and he had it turned upside down to clean it. And my brother was pressing the thing, and I was throwing apples into it. So doing it's like open, it's
Oh my
just throwing
god.
apples, just see what happened. And then the things that you do as a kid, and you just go, ah.
Like, why was I ever left alone? That's the
Yeah.
question. Like, Jesus Christ.
So I could have lost an eyeball doing that or anything.
And what happens if you stick your finger in there, mate? Like, ah! Cut your
I think
hand
they take fingers right off.
off. Oh, yeah, yeah.
There's all sorts of horror stories about that. There's like I think it was a guy was lawnmower in flip flops. It's in like it's one of those Darwin Awards, and the flip flop No, the lawnmower ran over his toe, ripped his toe off. He got stuck in the machinery, and as he like let go to crawl, like go down and grab his like missing toe, then it flung out and hit me in the eye and blinded him.
Oh,
It's like, you know, that is right there. That's a combo. He got
nice.
wombo combo by his lawnmower.
Yeah, I was I bought like an electric strimmer. Don't think I mentioned this. I like started using it, and a tiny little stone got caught and like flew into the wall and took a chunk out of the wall of the house, like the brick wall of the house. And I just went,
Yeah,
I'm wearing shorts right now. Let's not. Let's go put some other fucking jeans on.
that's like. Did you ever get shot with a BB gun when you were a
Oh
kid?
yeah, yeah.
Or like ball bearings from
Mm.
what was it now? Um, a wrist rocket. The catapults that you used to be able to
Oh
get.
yeah, yeah.
Remember getting one of those,
Well, I
and
had
it's
a
like you look at
slingshot
the.
as a kid, and like we used to just slingshot stones at each other.
Or do you ever do the thing like when you get like big elastic bands and then fire stuff with them? We used to do it in school, and then till someone figured out, oh, you get a paper clip and get the little bits of folded metal and fire them at people. And you just think like when you're a kid, like looking back as an adult, it's like how am I still walking around with all my toes and my eye?
There was a trend for a while in I think it was like in high school in like one of my maths class maybe it was, where we all had those like rulers that said they were unshatterable. So we all decided to take it to our wrist and just keep hitting ourselves until it broke.
Like,
And
can
then
I shatter it?
yeah, it's like, can I shatter the unshatterable ruler? And the answer is it doesn't shatter. You just have to hit your arm really hard and it will break into like a couple of pieces. It won't shatter. It's like similar to, glass, where it's like, oh, like glass,
Safety glass.
like, yeah, safety glass. It's like, well, it won't shatter, but it will break.
Break into like safe pieces that are
Hmm.
not like gonna injure anyone. And the thing is, you can be injured with them. I can't tell you how many times during high school I saw someone get like injured by a piece of writing stationery. Like I remember when
Oh
some
yeah.
guy brought in a fountain pen for the first time. Like, he got a fountain pen for Christmas, and literally one of the first things he did with it was stab someone and in the back of their hand, and they had like just a big inkwell underneath their hand. And it's just like that was the first thing he did. He got a pen and used it as a shiv. His first instinct was to use it as a weapon against like his fellow classmates.
That's the baby's first shiv, isn't it? The compass.
Yeah.
Like, just it's only like the 1 centimeter big, but just like stabbing your friends with the compass. Like, "Ugh."
Yeah, you get him like through the blazer on the
Yeah,
back,
yeah.
like in the shoulder blades. That was the classic one. Or taking pins from pins and needles from was it like home economics? Getting them and just stabbing people with them.
Oh
I'm not sure what
god,
the British version's called, like home ec. So that's how
DT, isn't it?
Americanized I am.
Like
Like stabbing people with them.
we'd have DT, but then it was broken down to like woodwork, electronics, product design, stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, just stabbing people with that. I remember there was a guy who did that on the bus. That's all he did. He'd sit at the front of the bus, and every time someone walked past, he'd just stab them with a pin. Just every single day. And it got to the point though where just one lad just came on and it happened to him, and he just turned around and he lamped the guy, and I'll never forget it because the guy he'd do it every time. He's a big old fucking fat knacker.
Hmm.
I don't think he was very hard. And for Americans, that means like, he was strong,
Tough. Yeah.
tough. It's just he was big. And
Hmm.
just one day he did it to this lad who just punched him. But not in the face, in the center of his forehead. And I don't know what, presumably he'd never thrown a punch before, but he hit him right in the center of the forehead. But it knocked him back because he was so surprised. And then he wiped the back of his head
Oh.
on the bus seat. Do you have those like big metal bits on the bus seat?
Yeah.
Onto that, and you could hear the clank throughout the entirety of the bus. So it was just this really soft thud, and then this massive clank, like dong, and then just he burst into tears and started crying. And they started tussling a little bit. And I remember the bus driver just pulled up, came up, said who started it, and everyone just pointed at the fat kid, and he just threw him off the bus like halfway down the road, and we all just drove off and were on the window like,
Oh god.
he
Yeah.
wasn't allowed on the bus
Literally though,
anymore.
when you said, yeah, the kid sat at the front of the bus and just jabbed everyone with a pin, I was like, how long did it take until someone just twatted him in the face?
That's all. He was like one of the biggest kids on the bus, and it's a mess. And then just one day, some lad just lamped him one,
Yeah. Not a
and
surprise.
he just wasn't allowed on the bus, and the bus drivers got up and just dragged him off the bus.
That's what you get for being an asshole, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really?
There were so many kids like that in school,
Oh
and
yeah.
I'm so glad that I don't live in my hometown anymore. Like
Yeah,
the
that's
stories
fair.
I hear from my brother when he goes back around to my hometown, or my dad when he like bumps into friends of mine.
Hmm.
And it's like, oh, I bumped into an old school friend of yours. And it's like, Dad, first things first, like they're not my friend.
Acquaintance.
No, I know of them.
Yeah.
And then it was like, what are they doing? He's like, oh, I saw them in Morrison's and they've got 2 kids and they look really unhappy. I went, that sounds about right.
Hmm.
I'd be unhappy if I had 2 kids.
Probably
I,
see.
I say to my dad, who had 3 kids,
I constantly turn around to my parents now that I'm older and like, why the fuck did you have children?
how did you put up with us?
Yeah.
How did you put up with a kid who thought one day it'd be really funny to throw apples at the bottom of an upturned lawnmower? Like, that was just a game I played for like a week. It was great.
Well, like, I think there's a good, what, 4 or 5 year period where my parents just refer to me as like the angry teenager who just didn't want to socialize with anyone, just screamed at them whenever anything happened, and just
Mhm.
wanted nothing to do with their lives and just lived off them, ate all of their food and screamed at them anytime they wanted anything.
Yeah, it just sounds like one of my first year roommates, and I was so glad to get rid of them.
Yeah. Oh god,
But your
like
parents are
early
still with them.
puberty Lucas just turned into a demon.
All kids are dickheads.
Oh yeah.
That's the one, and the worst bit is like all kids think they're smarter than their parents because they all think that they know.
Yeah.
And like, have you? What's the oldest you've seen somebody still in that age or in that mindset
Unfortunately, still people I know.
right now?
Like
Have
late
you,
20s, yeah.
that they never grew out of that mindset of like I'm
I
right
think
about
I know
everything,
better than everybody else, yeah.
including people giving me advice who literally know better than myself.
Hmm.
That's a rough one.
Yeah, that is rough. And not friends, but like friends of friends.
Acquaintances.
Yeah, like the people I still bump into when, like, obviously pre-COVID, like, everyone would go to a bar and I'm like, oh, I haven't seen that person in a couple of years. And then I speak to them and go, that's why I haven't spoken to that person in a couple of years.
Now, this is why we no longer interact.
Hmm.
It takes like a good 5 minutes for you to realize because at first you're still like just overwhelmed by like, the nostalgia of catching up with the person.
Exactly, yeah.
And then it
Oh,
slowly
what have you
sinks
been
in.
up to? Oh, wait. Oh, they started talking. Oh, no.
Yeah. That's the worst. Let's move on from that. Let's move on from reminiscing about the past and say, look forward to the future, Lucas, because
Ooh.
the UK has just opened back up, I believe.
Yeah, near enough. Like, what? Last Monday was. No. It's been like 9 days since Freedom Monday.
Yeah, like everything has opened back up, and I'm still not sure how I feel about it because I went to see Adam, friend of the channel,
Mhm.
because he had like a meetup with his Discord or something like that, and I
Right.
tagged along. So I was out with another friend having a drink, and I'll tell you, I was freaked the fuck out when I walked into a bar, and they just had people at the bar. I just walked in, and I was like,
Oh, shit, yeah. Yeah.
"What happened to tables? We're not doing that anymore." So, but it was so much better. I want table service back, and it was really, really freaky. So, I'm guessing you've not been anywhere like due to being unwell.
No,
Is there
no,
anything
I've
you've got
not.
planned for when you are?
No, so far all of our plans are just like, having people round to houses or going to their house or something like that. We haven't actually got any plans set in place to go outside yet.
Yeah, I don't think I have either. Like that experience immediately soured me on it. Like, oh man, people just don't care.
Yeah. Like, there are so many people just wanting to go back to exactly the way things were
Mm.
pre-COVID, and I'm like, maybe one day, but it's not time. Like,
It's not time just yet, but
not going immediately 100% swinging right the way back to what we were at. And I find it really funny because right now in the UK, there's a lot of people going like, look, everything's going perfectly fine since Freedom Day because cases are technically going down since the Euros happened and we had 80,000 people crammed into a giant stadium. It's like,
yeah,
yeah, no wonder cases are down from then. Yeah, that's probably
that's
not a
been
surprise.
that's been a weird one as well. It's like oh, what was it now? A friend of mine just sent me like a picture of like, oh yeah, I actually no, it's my girlfriend.
Oh,
I'm trying. I've
a
been seeing
friend
this.
of yours, eh?
I've seen this screenshot a couple of times.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh yeah, she got all the way back to America. She took 3 COVID tests on her way there, like one the day before, one the day of her traveling, and then one at the airport, like a proper one.
Mm-hmm.
Got back to America, took another COVID test before she went in to get her vaccine. So did all that, and then 2 days after she'd landed in America, got a thing on her phone, the NHS app, which she still had on her phone from being here. It said, you need to self isolate. Is that I have gone across 3 international boundaries and taken 4 COVID. Like and she was really worried. It's like, does this mean I technically wasn't allowed to travel? It's like, no, you did because you took like fucking 4 COVID
Mm-hmm.
tests over the course of 2 days. Obviously, it's just the app is so shit and so far behind. It didn't realize that you traveled across an entire continent before it gave you the beep, like the blip.
Man, that's bad.
Yeah.
Because that means that technically, if somebody had COVID and got allowed to travel all that way without isolating, that the app just, yeah, it's, as you say, it's just a failed shitty app that it's like, okay, you're just letting people cross like borders before you're warning them they might have COVID now.
Yeah, and what was really funny about it is because like her app was like freaking out because it couldn't tell where she was.
Mm.
So it just said at the top of the app, all COVID restrictions are lifted in the UK, and then below that, you need to self isolate. Is that I couldn't think of like if you wrote something to parody that, you couldn't make it as on the nose
Mm.
of why it's such a bad idea. Of you need to self isolate because you're in trouble of like spreading the virus. Everything is open. You can do whatever you want. There are no restrictions.
But please stay at home. Oh
So she was
god.
really paranoid and worried about it. And I got a couple of other friends of mine who were like, why did I get this message? I've not been anywhere. And it's like, because someone probably drove past your house.
Mm. Yeah.
It's probably that. So I live in a flat. So I'm constantly getting pinged of like, you need to stay inside for like 3 days.
Yeah, well apparently like it doesn't even take into account, yeah, like things like walls. Like if our neighbors had to self-isolate, it would then ping us and be like, well, you've been in contact with those people because you're within a certain
25 meters.
footage
Yeah.
of them. Yeah.
It
So
keeps
like,
happening to me. I live in a block of flats. So I'm constantly getting a thing of like, you may have passed. It's like, I've not been out in 3 days. I've been sat inside the entire time.
but no, but Carl, you're within 25 meters of someone in another flat that you do
Yeah.
not know or see.
Another
Okay.
floor of the building.
Oh god.
It's just, yeah, it's not going well for anyone.
It's not, but provided that things like stay okay, that does mean that when I get my job in like 2 days, that I'll be able to go to the office soon.
Welcome, Chef. You come to the new office, which people can see. You can
Might be
see the new
able to
office.
like be in that room soon, Carl.
Yes, the new office that I have had to pull all the blinds halfway down and make sure that the light from coming through is enough where people can't gauge where we are. I had to specifically before this podcast, like we went live, make sure that you can't tell where we are based on the windows.
Yeah.
Because there's fucking weirdos out there who will try and figure out where we are. I want to
Oh
say I got a
god.
message the other day from someone who was like, "Oh, I'm based in Sheffield. Can I come to the office?" It's like, fuck off now.
No.
Why would I ever say yes to that?
It's like it's one thing if it was, you know, say somebody who was a local content creator and was like, look, I enjoy your stuff. I also do this. You can check out my stuff here. Let's collaborate, blah, blah, blah. But it's not, I just want to come visit your office, mate. No.
You can come in and clean it. If you want to come in and fucking clean it, you can do that.
Tips to anyone that wants to come to Carl's office, just offer to keep clean the office. There you go.
Yeah. Actually, don't do that. Someone will.
Yeah, I know,
Someone
right?
will do. Someone will do that. Then I've got to deal with it. That's like another thing that I'm gonna have to deal with. People saying, "Can I just come to the office?" Yeah, that should be fun. Like, be able to meet up and record again in person. It's weird because this is all happening. I think opening back up was a bit of meet up in person as YouTube has changed the algorithm again and is causing numbers, I think, site wide to nosedive for almost every content creator who makes similar content to us.
Oh.
Yeah, because like you've seen the numbers behind the scenes of Fact Fiend, right?
I have, unfortunately, yes.
And they've taken like a huge big dip. And the same is true. I've like done my due diligence and checked with other content creators who create similar content and have similar size channels to ours. They're all experiencing a similar kind of lull. And
Right.
I looked into it, and the reason why is because YouTube is now trying to compete with Instagram, Snapchat to a degree,
TikTok, I suppose.
TikTok by making these things and pushing these things called shorts.
Mm-hmm.
And shorts are essentially TikToks or reels based on which social media service you happen to use. And that's a little strange to me because these shorts, as the name implies, are brief snippets of content between 10 and 30 seconds long.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really weird how YouTube is now pushing this content because do you remember what happened a couple of years ago?
You'll
In
have to
regards to
refresh
what
my memory.
Well, they had a huge algorithm shift where people who made short-term content or short-form content were fucked over when YouTube didn't let them add ads to their content unless it was over 8 minutes long.
Yeah, because the push was to
Content.
basically every content creator like make sure your videos are over 8 minutes long, otherwise YouTube ain't gonna push shit.
Also, we're not going to let you run ads against it.
Yeah.
And that caused a lot of short-form content creators to jump ship, and it led to the rise of things like Vine. And Vine, and then like I'm not sure which came first, Vine or Snapchat, but like those two platforms
I
have
believe Vine would have
helped
been
birth.
before Snapchat, and
Maybe I think Vine was more popular in terms of like promotion wise. Like people got bigger on there than they did on Snapchat. People use Snapchat to create short form content, but Vine was better at promoting it. But it birthed basically a new genre of content that YouTube did not what's the word now I'm thinking of? It did not cater for.
right, yeah.
Which led to a bunch of other social media platforms desperately trying to nip at the heels of Vine. And then Vine got bought out and shut down by a venture capitalist company who just didn't want to compete with it. And then out of the ashes of Vine rose Byte, which died a death. But then TikTok came along, and now TikTok's like taking over the world.
Byte.
Yeah, Byte. That's how bad it was. You don't even remember it.
I don't
And
remember it at all.
it was made by the people who made Vine, and they tried to
Fucking
make
hell.
Vine again and it failed. But then TikTok came in, and TikTok's too big to get bought out because it's owned by a Chinese company. And now YouTube, after telling every content creator on their platform who makes short form content to go and fuck themselves and forcing them to jump ship to these other platforms that are now directly competing with their own, YouTube is now going, oh, we're not going to push any content over 10 minutes. We're all about short form content now. Which is kind of difficult for us as a channel that creates near exclusively 10 to 15-minute long videos because we were told by YouTube itself and the algorithm, this is what we want.
Yeah, and I think, like, to be fair, it's more realistic now, especially with wikis, like probably 10 to 20, depending on the video. But yeah, like roughly 10 to 15 to 20-minute videos because that's exactly what YouTube wanted out of the channel.
For almost like a decade. It's like YouTube has consistently pushed like 8 to 15 minutes, maybe a bit longer. It's been the content it wants. And now, suddenly, the only thing YouTube's pushing are things that are between 10 and 30 seconds long. And that is a hell of a shift.
It is.
To have to deal with and accommodate. And it's especially difficult for us because we've been working so hard during the lockdown that we have got, I think, 50 videos still in reserve that need to be edited. So any changes that we'd like to make are going to be very slow.
Well, for the longest amount of
realized.
time, we've been talking about the upside of having a big backlog, and this is the downside of having that big backlog, isn't it? So
It makes it very difficult to react to trends like this. And we do have plans in place to react to those, but it's just really difficult that YouTube is so opaque as it often is. And I've had to discover all this by just doing my own research.
Yeah.
It'd be nice if YouTube just sent out an email of, look, we're going to start promoting shorter form content now. We encourage you to take advantage of the new platform on like content platform we're going to give you. We're going to like be pushing this, and if you're one of the creators that gets good on it, you could be favored in the algorithm. But they've not told anyone that. They've just put it on and only promoted it. So you've had to just basically just guess, and that's really, really frustrating to deal with.
And I will talk to you because like I don't want to get into stuff that may or may not happen and talk about that stuff outside. But I did, just because I'm looking down and it looks like I'm ignoring you, just had like a little blip of an idea that I might want to discuss with you about like what we could do to cater to that. I have a little idea, but I won't discuss it now because then people might get the hopes up. They see it and it might not happen. And you know what
Let's
it's
do
like.
it. Get everyone's hope up.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
No, do it. Get everyone's. Can I just read the message that you sent me?
Do you want me to just tell you?
You could just tell me, yeah, that'll work.
Okay, Carl. Well, don't.
Because you've
It's
just
not.
had an idea.
Yeah, all I was gonna say is one thing that we could potentially do on the
Yes,
channel is maybe
maybe.
try and cater to this like as you say 30-second trend on YouTube
Mhm.
is just do like 30-second summary or like videos of articles of like,
Ooh,
oh, say whatever video is going out today. Here's the 30-second summary. If you want to check out the full video, here's now. But just here's the title. Here's what the quick fact is. If you want the actual discussion on the topic, if you want the tangents, go check out the full 10-15 minute video.
yeah, and they're all things that we can, like, do when we're in person. And
Yeah,
when we're in person,
exactly.
that's also we can record like a bunch of them in a row. We can like record it on someone's phone.
Hmm.
'Cause my idea is like something similar to that was just record stuff, get someone who stood off camera to record on their phone
Hmm.
and just record clips of us talking
Yeah.
on the phone, then upload those as shorts of like behind the scenes and previews and things like that. And I think I've got Brad, you, and Nisha just behind the scenes. Just go and track down clips from videos that are funny and start cutting them down to like 30 seconds or so and like
Yeah.
start uploading those too. But
And
it's
it is one of
yeah,
those things of like, obviously, for the longest time, you've been just like, let's do things our own way, but you can't ignore the algorithm because that's just
yeah,
asking to die off. Like, when
it
it's
is. And
this harder turn and this harder push,
but it's
it's
happened so
stupid to not.
suddenly.
Yeah.
It's happened so suddenly and it's happened annoyingly, like right at the start of us being able to get back to the office and work in person. But there's like this awkward 2 week gap where we can't actually physically meet. And then there's this kind of this 2 month gap while we work through the backlog that we have. And in that
Hmm.
time, losing all that back, like going through that backlog and continuing on that downward trend means getting back up to where we were before is going to be all the more difficult.
But I suppose like if it is just a case of getting small, quick videos out in the meantime, might help. But again, it won't. We won't be able to swiftly just change the direction of the channel on a whim.
Yeah, and it's also not clear if that is what YouTube's doing. It's just that's my best guess because the actual downturn is so inexplicable and so sudden. The only explanation is that YouTube just suddenly doesn't want to promote anything that we're putting out
And it
because
is very much within YouTube's
we all
history
have. Yeah,
to make a new feature and exclusively push that feature, which is the like hashtag YouTube Shorts kind of thing, like
yeah,
the very much portrait on your phone recorded 30-second YouTube Shorts. That
yeah,
is their new push, and YouTube will do everything in their power to push that new thing that they've got. That's what they've
yeah.
always done.
Yeah, it's that classic YouTube thing of just suddenly you don't make any money now. Like they had
Hmm.
the apocalypse where they just suddenly told people, you can't have money on your channel. Your channel no longer earns money. We're not going to tell you why. It's the thing we've done. And they did the mid-roll ads change, which is like, site-wide without really any warning. And the warnings that they
Couple of
did give were
emails
vague.
sent out like vaguely, just kind of sneak that in. Yeah.
But I'm like, so I'm not too fussed about like the actual change. The channel still makes money. That's the thing.
Hmm.
Newer videos are not getting as many views as they ordinarily would, but videos in the archives are still getting tens, actually hundreds of thousands of views every single day. So
Right.
we still make money from that. And I just
Hmm.
think it's quite poetic that our channel took off because YouTube randomly one day decided we want to show everybody your content and it took off.
Hmm.
And now, I think 3 years, maybe 4 years later, YouTube has done the exact opposite,
I've
and
just
that's very
randomly
that's
one day like, hey, all your new videos are getting half the views they were a week ago.
yeah, it's
Like,
it's
thumbs up, there
poetic in
you
a way.
go. That's great.
And I knew it was bad when a fan noticed that was the case. Because when we
Hmm.
noticed, we have access to the analytics.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
one thing. But when a fan sent me a tweet saying, "Why are your videos getting half the views?" It's like we don't know.
Hmm.
That's the thing. If it's confusing for you, the audience at home, it's doubly confusing for us because we've not changed anything.
Yeah.
The content hasn't changed. We're still making the exact same content. It's the same length. Our analytics haven't changed in regards to viewing numbers. If you go back and look at older videos, you can see, oh, the numbers were fine, fine, fine. Everything was the exact same. It's just YouTube here stopped recommending our content, and we don't know why.
And literally,
We
I
can
think the only video that's been like of an old kind of, last month's numbers was
Loki.
specifically Loki because we timed that with the TV show with a current trend. So, like, it's not as if it won't work, but we can't record 2 months in advance and keep up with a trend to release every video. And you can't write articles to keep up with current trends because that's not how facts fucking work.
Do you know what we can do though? We can sit on our phones and just record them.
Yeah.
Why does Lucas' stream look better than yours? Someone asked. And we're in different locations. And different locations, like, I'm not sure if you know this, they have different light. And different lighting impacts the way that things look.
Yeah, and it's just one of those.
Also, go and fuck yourself. That's the thing. Like, we'd literally giving people free content right now. It's like, you don't look as good. I don't like it.
You know what? We are trying our best.
And stuff like that is one thing. Like, maybe if the channel died, it wouldn't be too big a deal. Like, stuff like that. And I know I'm being very flippant in regards to that. It's because, like, you know, there's enough money in the coffers to keep making content for 6 months before you even have to start worrying.
Mhm.
Like, this office is fully paid till, like, halfway through next year.
Right, yeah.
There are no overheads for running Fact Fiend except for paying you guys, and there's enough money to do that for 6-7 months.
And I think
Before
like
that's not even taking into account the money the channel still earns, because the channel still turns a profit, just not as much as one.
yeah, and it's one of those of like, as you say, because like the content's pretty evergreen. It is just the old views keep happening on old content. Like just because a video is 4 years old doesn't mean it's not a relevant fact anymore. It's still a correct fact. Yeah, no. So
It's also that thing of, as long as it exists, it'll continue to make money.
yeah, for sure. And it's one of those of I like we've had conversations over the past year and a half of we know working remotely, the numbers are going to drop off. Like the energy's not going to quite be the same. There's going to be a bit of a dip, and that was always foreseeable and quite easily foreseeable. But at the same time, like the suddenness and severity of the drop that's happened now is just very weird.
But it's one of those reasons, well, I think behind the scenes, none of us really care. It's like, well, it's nothing. It's obviously nothing we did.
Yeah, yeah.
Nothing we did has affected this. Because if it had been something we did, we'd have seen it in response to something. It's just a site-wide change that is just fucking over ourselves and presumably a bunch of other people.
Yeah,
Like,
there's not been a video that we've made that's been like controversial or anything like that. And
we did one last year.
Yeah, yeah.
When I told everyone who voted for Donald Trump to go fuck themselves. But we actually got more views because of that.
I was going to say that didn't even harm the analytics. So if anything, making a controversial video would be better for us.
It probably would, yeah. It'd probably be better for the channel if I started like just screaming racial slurs or something like that. And that's a really sad way to look at it.
It is, yeah.
Where it'd probably be better for the analytics because the old adage of any attention, like bad publicity is still publicity.
Yeah, like any attention is attention, isn't it? At the end of the day, like, but God, yeah, it's really depressing to think. Maybe if you just rammed your videos full of sponsors and said really flippant, controversial things, you'd get more views.
Well, that's actually something I've thought. Like, that's another one of the ideas that I've had of like, because we intentionally turn off like every ad except for one skippable ad at start. I thought, has YouTube just decided not to promote videos that don't have a lot of ads in them? But again, it's difficult
because
to tell
they
that.
technically earn less money off our videos than another video with the same views would.
Yeah, but again, there's no real way to know that. That's only a suspicion that I have. But
and then
yeah,
if you if you speculate that and then turn on a bunch of ads and drive away a bunch of viewership, you never know. Like it's one of those.
And it's that thing of like because you can't know for sure, you can't. I'm not willing to take that risk. But it's it's like it's site wide. Like there are other channels. Like today, I found out it's probably the closest parallel we have to our content, especially now with the way that it's run and the way like Simon Whistler's like become a personality more than a host.
Right. Yeah.
Like some of their videos are getting less than ours, and they've got like 2.5 million subs.
God.
But they put out a video every single day, so they've got all that numbers game. But we can't do that because I can't write an article every single day. I could, but
maybe if we start getting these random 30-second clips out, that we can start doing just daily videos. There we go.
We can easily get one of them out every day, yeah. But that's something I'm waiting for, like when everyone's back at the office.
Yeah,
just like record like a quick one, like on my phone, like we're all back in the office, yay, done, boom. And YouTube's like clearly trying to promote all that stuff because it's all that appears in my was it now feed.
Well, that was my favorite one. Of like I every now and then, like not often, but I might just put up like a 30-second funny clip out of a stream. And I did one with like Fall Guys not long ago. I noticed like the average view time on a 30-second clip was like 6 seconds less than the actual runtime. I'm like, is your time that precious? Like really, really?
That's the video equivalent of people who read ahead on subtitles and then skip.
Mm.
During video games, they read ahead of the subs. I ain't got time. I've got it. I get the gist of what's going on. I'm just skip.
And it's weird to me because I get that if that was the analytics on like Twitter where autoplays as you scroll and people like whatever. But when you have to actively click on the video on YouTube to watch it, and then you're like, no, this 5 seconds, I can't do it. I've got to click away now.
Yeah, that's why if you guys start editing those short clips, do not put an intro in. Don't put any intro because any intro is
No,
going
it's
to
got to be
just
cold
have
open, cold cut, like gone.
cold like straight away.
Yeah.
If we're competing with fucking TikTok, we can't have any downtime.
No, you can't at
There's
all.
no downtime. You can't have none of that.
Oh,
But I've
God.
had quite a bit of fun though making them for my personal channel. I like go like trawling through like our old like playthroughs and stuff. Like the Spider-Man one is a gold mine.
Yeah, I've
There is
noticed
a
you've put quite
moment.
a few Spider-Man clips out.
There's like a moment in like one moment in every episode where we just go into photo mode and some criminal is like halfway through getting their face put through like a car windscreen or something like that. And it's like, this is great.
Mm-hmm.
This is
And
fantastic.
it's one of those of like clipping out something is one thing, but maybe it is a better idea to try and cater to it and like actually make a 20-30 second clip rather than trying to like cut around a conversation to make it make sense, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, but at the same time, I can't wait for YouTube to realize that's not a good idea.
And then 6 months later, created this channel for trying to cater to their current trend. It's like, oh god,
Yeah, we're all about 2.5 hour long documentary style videos now. That's the one. Like, there's no genre on YouTube that has ever lasted more than a couple of years.
no.
Like, think about like playthroughs. Like we just talked about them. Like the golden day, like the heyday of that kind of content is long since gone.
Long. And I know like that's something that we're still doing because we enjoy it,
Yeah.
but it's definitely not the kind of content getting pushed anymore.
So I realized that when, because I was a subscribed to the Best Friends Play.
Hmm.
Do you know that Fact Fiend has more subscribers than Best Friends Play?
Ooh.
And think about how massive they were in their heyday. They were like on Machine when every one of their videos ended up on Machinima, which has since shut down and had all these videos deleted. It was on the front page of YouTube. And I just out of curiosity, because like one of their videos kept popping up in my feed. I'm like, well, they've not uploaded a new video in like 3 years. Why am I still subscribed to them? And I clicked and went, they have less subscribers than Fact Fiend, and like some of their playthroughs were getting like 40,000 views. And it's when I looked at that, I went, oh, yeah, that's like, a pretty good parallel. That's one of the things I've looked at. It's like, yeah, because they had a similar meteoric rise and then a fall where they just like, they settled into their groove, plateaued, and they just dropped. And then they all gave up and went their separate ways and did their own stuff.
Yeah, and fair play to them and keep doing what they're doing, I guess, if they're enjoying it. But yeah, like unfortunately, that is the game you play with YouTube. Of like, if you don't cater, and just online content creation in general, if you don't cater to what is
popular, on vogue,
what is on vogue, what is on trend at the moment, like you're just asking to either get shut down completely or just to drop off and kind of plateau. And
yeah. And when it gets to that situation, one of the only ways to survive is to have so many millions upon millions of subs that even when you drop down to like the 10-5% of your original viewer base, it's still enough to give you advertising revenue or just absolutely sell the fuck out and just have the most like sponsors in everything.
Yeah.
I'm curious what's the next trend's going to be.
Don't know.
Because all the stuff obviously that got me into YouTube itself is now like, no longer cool.
Yeah.
Like everything that got me into, gameplay stuff. Like, I remember like for a brief period, it was all about Guitar Hero videos. Remember that?
Oh yeah.
That was an even weirder trend of like
that was like
everyone
Guitar Hero, like expert level 100% accuracy videos getting like as many or more views as fucking music videos were.
Yeah, and movie trailers. Like you could not look for a song on YouTube without the first suggestion being, "Do you want to see someone play it on Guitar Hero?"
And yeah, it's one of those of like we've got both sides of things, I guess, of like, yeah, we do things like the gameplay just because we enjoy doing that, and it's not on trend, but then at the same time that's just something we enjoy doing. But then I guess it's
probably not going to come back.
I guess it would be silly to like just have Fat Fiend and not try to cater it in some way if the views are going down. Like it would be stupid to take that kind of subscriber base and just be like, well,
we've got access to that platform.
Yeah.
And I've already spoke with you guys about like if it all like shits the bed, well, we've got access to a recording space and all the money in the Fact Fiend coffers to burn through.
Hmm.
We've got 6 fucking months to just have some fun. Well, so at that point, if we realize, okay, yeah, it's probably not going to go very well, fuck it. Let's just do you know that thing of like you just get a check. Do you know the Blink 182 video where they get a check from the recording studios like we've got to spend this
Oh yeah.
in a week? That's what it's going to be like. So I'll just like look how much money the channel has and say, okay, this is how much money the channel has. You guys, we can split this bit 4 ways and let's just spend the rest of it.
Hmm.
What do you want to do with this money? And we'll just have 6 months of just having a laugh.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just one of those of like, we'll see what happens, but yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why I'm not too fussed about it. And if anyone is worried the way we're talking, I've been so flippant and nonchalant about it, it's like because there are plans in place to all of us walk away with a decent amount of money.
There is, yeah. And yeah, I guess go watch Fact Fiend videos more if you're worried.
Please do. Please. We need them. See, I can't even do that. I can't even be
No.
sincere, and it's like my job because I'm so tired of it. So I still love doing it, but I'm so tired. Because I'm one of those people where I moved every year. I get so bored of just being in the same place.
Mhm.
I would quit my job and get a new one like every couple of months because I get so bored when I'm not being challenged. Even if it's the challenge is just finding a new space to decorate.
Mm. And that's the thing is when we are back in person again shortly, hopefully, then that's kind of stuff we could do. We can start challenging you and challenging ourselves again and coming up with cool new stuff to do. But right now, there's kind of very little point when we're all doing this remotely and it's all kind of a little bit distanced and a little bit off compared to what it would be at the office. Yeah.
Seems a bit weird. Not weird. It seems like a bad idea to try and do that when we're going to completely have to overhaul and shift around everything in a couple of weeks anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
And then presumably 3 months after that, the country's going to shut for its annual Christmas lockdown once again. So we have to do that. It's like, oh, gotta love it. But it is very fun. Like in that way of like, I don't know what's going to happen, but I do know that because I'm such a paranoid tight ass motherfucker, we don't have to worry about it.
Hmm. Yeah, it's almost as if like you had contingencies in place.
It's almost like I'm a good businessman.
There we go.
It's almost like I'm a good ass businessman who looks after his mates.
But that is all stuff that for the future, stuff we don't know.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like the future is very uncertain, and it's for reasons that are entirely out of our control.
Yeah.
And it's for reasons as well that we can't have explained to us.
And no, we can't. And I think there's probably a lot of people sitting here going like, "Holy shit! Like this is awful," and blah blah. But this is probably what a lot of YouTube channels deal with on a
Behind the scenes,
semi-regular basis. Yeah, behind the
I
scenes.
would say like, at least 2-3 times a month, like 2-3 times a year.
Mm.
This is something that like probably strikes a lot of YouTube channels.
And you can
Like,
see in YouTube channels like one that I can think of off the top of my head that's a really good example is what used to be Screw Attack. Of like they were
wow.
yeah, they are now Death Battle. They literally changed their YouTube channel entirely to the point of like catering to that one thing that did well because yeah, they tried new things over and over again and they consistently saw like numbers going down except for Death Battle and they're like, right then, but we have to cater our channel completely differently to what we want to, and then people ended up leaving and they ended up making Game Attack and stuff like that. And you can look at the stretched out history of Screw Attack and go, like, look at the difference between when they started and what they are Death Battle now.
Yeah.
And like they've made so many changes over the years and so many different like pushes towards different YouTube trends and stuff, and now like they've had to just go Death Battle is the only thing that consistently stayed with exceptional views. And fair play to them, they've managed to keep sticking around with that and like still putting out good content with it. But yeah, it's just like really funny looking at something like that and going like, yeah, even bigger successful channels have to deal with this shit constantly.
Yeah, and then on a macro level, you just have to look at creators where very few creators in online spaces ever last more than a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
Even the people like at the very apex of success, like your PewDiePies, your Markipliers, your KSIs, you look at them, they've generally, I think all of them have shifted what they make. They still
Yeah.
do like, stuff. And you can just look and they look so tired. Like, I don't watch any of those people's content, but because I'm on the internet, I'm aware of it and I see it. It's just in my peripheral a lot. Like, you can't go onto Reddit or like YouTube or something without it being somewhere in your peripheral.
Oh,
And they look so fucking tired all the time. It's like because they've been doing the same thing for this long. It's like if you look at TV shows where they go on for several seasons longer than they probably should have, and then it's like there's everyone's phoning it in.
Yeah. God, like still low. There is like shows that go on for too long. Obviously, it's so frustrating because I've just like while Jenna's been off and I've been off, like just been like,
Yeah.
look, we should watch Glow because like I watched Glow like last year while I was ill and really just binged it and then showed Jenna it and it ends on like such a frustrating note because they planned season 4 to be the last season and
Netflix didn't renew it.
No, they did, and then they cancelled it. They renewed it and then cancelled it, and it's even worse.
Netflix is similar to YouTube in that way, where they're very cynical in their approach. Where there's a very telling quote from someone higher up in Netflix's like executive branch, and they're talking about how generally it makes more financial sense, with the exception of a couple of shows that are so popular we can't cancel them. To cancel a show after the second or third season, because around the third season is when the cast realize that it's popular and can start negotiating for more money. And after the third season, generally you're not going to get new people in. You're only going to retain the viewership that you've already gained from fans of that series. So it's effectively valueless in that sense.
Yeah, and that's
that
why you
happened with
see Netflix making a big push towards, as you say, either like 2-3 seasons or the limited season series of stuff.
Yeah, and that happened with the show that I liked, Santa Clarita Diet, which again I think it was 3
Another
seasons,
one.
maybe 4.
Yeah,
Ended on a cliffhanger.
it
Never
did.
got a 4th season.
Ended on a real good cliffhanger, and it's like
That
yes!
show was good as well.
Then it's gone. Yeah,
and that show only got better as it went along.
And
that show was
like
good.
#1 on Netflix, and they were still like, no, get rid.
Yeah, and that show's fantastic. I adored that show. It was so good.
Recommend people watch it, even though it ends on a frustrating note because they cancelled it. Same with Glow. Like, they're still great shows, but it's so frustrating to watch Netflix make those decisions to be like, yeah, this thing gets a lot of views, but we're not getting new people watching it, so fuck it. Let it die.
Oh, man. Good for Nathan Fillion. He's been involved with 2 shows like that.
Two shows?
Like Firefly was very famous.
Firefly, yeah.
I think it was cancelled to 1 season.
Despite
being one of the most popular shows.
But then it got the movie Serenity, yeah.
And then Nathan Fillion is in Santa Clarita Diet and he got cancelled again.
I'm sure Nathan Fillion's probably been in a lot more than just 2 shows like that have been cancelled off, yeah.
And then you look at stuff that this horse was a skeleton. Like, people like the network was playing the xylophone on this horse's skeleton because he'd been dead for that long. Like Big Bang Theory.
Oh god,
like 12, 13 fucking seasons of that shit.
Yeah, that could have ended halfway through.
It could have ended after the first season, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, it could have done because not the biggest fan of it anyway, but even if you do like that show went on 5 seasons too long.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's a guilty pleasure of mine because I don't like the characters, I like the actors. I think the actors are very good at what they do. They're just given very bad material.
It's like you watch any interview with any of the actors and they all seem like, personable people and good actors and stuff like that. So
yeah, they're all very good actors. They're given very poor material, and it's why I've got an appreciation for early 2.5 Men. Not for anyone here except for John Cryer, who I hated his character until I realized how good an actor he was. And when I watched him in other things, I went, oh, I hate the character because John Cryer is a fucking fantastic actor.
What character is that?
Alan. The snivelly brother in 2.5 Men.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
It's like, I hated that character, and it's like, but I hate him because John Cryer is such a good actor.
He's played to be hated, yeah.
Yeah, and he's like just this amazing fucking like so good, but then like the show is terrible, and it's written by the same guy who wrote
Big Bang Theory.
Big Bang Theory.
I think anything. Is it
Chuck Lorre?
Chuck Lorre or Chuck Lore? I can't remember.
It's Lorre. I've seen it a lot.
I just don't know how to pronounce it. But anyway, anything he touches has that smack of like 2.5 Men, Big Bang Theory, of like the really easy, just lowest common denominator kind of writing.
And it's like,
but it's very successful.
It is the television equivalent of fast food.
Yes, yeah.
Right. Like, a season of Big Bang Theory is like ordering 50 nuggets from McDonald's.
Which, every now and then we like to have a couple of drinks and do.
Yeah, and speaking of, like, going to Netflix and watching shows that I'm not really sure are going to get more seasons, or that I didn't, I watched and didn't enjoy, but still watched anyway. I watched Masters of the Universe, which is a limited season.
Right,
Did
yes.
you watch Masters of the Universe, Lucas?
No, but I read an
No.
article about this a couple of days ago because
Okay.
people are like review bombing and hating on it, right?
Yeah, and they're review bombing and hating it because it has a woman in it. And you know what? Their opinion doesn't matter, but I don't like it because it's just not a fun show.
Right.
And if you've not watched it, look, this is great. I thought of a bit we can do here, and it is. Are you at all familiar with the Masters of the universe?
So I am aware of it tangentially through like pop culture and
Osmosis
doing
and stuff
like
like that. Yep.
wiki weekends and stuff like that. We've brought up bits and pieces. Like I know of He-Man, I know of
Okay.
She-Ra. Like
Perfect. Okay, so Lucas, with that in mind, who is the main character or the most popular, well-known character from the Masters of the universe?
I would imagine He-Man.
It's He-Man, and who's the second most popular
I would
and well-known?
imagine. Well, She-Ra, but then antagonist. I would say Skeletor.
Skeletor. So He-Man and Skeletor.
Yeah.
Too much popular. The show does not follow the adventures of either He-Man or Skeletor.
Yeah.
He-Man is a bit player in a season on which he is front and center on the poster. If you go look at season, I thought it was called He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. No, it's called Masters of the Universe. Because I thought it was a He-Man show, and it's not. It is a Masters of the Universe show set in the He-Man universe.
Mm-hmm.
And He-Man, and I was like, I oh, I feel so silly when I saw the title. Why would I think He-Man's the main character of this? And then I went and looked at the trailer where He-Man is in every single shot of the trailer, and then the poster, which is He-Man doing the He-Man pose. And I went, oh, I can see why people thought that He-Man was going to be the main character of this show when he's fucking literal front and center of every piece of marketing material.
Yeah, and that's the thing. When I was reading this article, it mentioned like He-Man is in most or all of the episodes, but he's not the primary focus of the story.
He's not.
And
that's the thing.
It's one of those things of I get both sides of the argument of like, look, I get that people feel lied to because of that shit, because yeah, he's featured in all the marketing material, he's the front and center on the poster. But I also get that maybe like they were trying to cover up like spoilers for it being a plot twist.
And as you mentioned, there are people review bombing it, and they're doing that because the main focus is, I think, several female characters, and that works in the show. My favorite show the last couple of years is She-Ra, which does exactly that.
Rave about that show, yeah.
And that show is fantastic. And Master of the Universe is not. Do you know why She-Ra works and He-Man doesn't, in my opinion?
I'm imagining because they lean into the fun, like the campiness of it, yeah.
When you think He-Man, you think camp.
100%.
You think it is pure 100% 80s camp. They didn't intend for it to be at the time, but it is now.
And that's why it's like meme worthy and look back on now from a younger generation, yeah.
And like when you see like He-Man giving like the big speeches of like, remember kids, don't do drugs. And it's like so quaint. It's so like just reminiscent of a more innocent time.
Yeah.
Like in terms of like media. And I read a bunch of interviews with Kevin Smith, who like wrote and produced a bunch of episodes. And he talks about how I really want it to be reminiscent. I want it to be reminiscent of the earlier shows and appeal to fans of that show, but also bring in a new audience. And that's when I found myself thinking, well, if you're going to do that, surely the best way to anchor this universe is to use the most popular, well-known character from it.
I would have assumed so, and that's probably why, along with the name, I just assumed this was like a reboot of He-Man.
No.
I thought, as you did, that it was a reboot of He-Man Masters of the Universe, but it turned out it's just Masters of the Universe.
Yeah, and the problem with Masters of the Universe is that the universe is fucking awful. The universe is so boring.
Fair.
Because it was literally a marketing tool to sell toys to children.
As many
there's
80s cartoons were,
yeah, and there's a really great episode of The Toys That Made Us on He-Man, where they talk about how by the end of the production run of the toys, which were running concurrently with the show, the writers for the show were getting really pissed off with how many random crap characters they were adding in for the toy line that they had to write into episodes. And some of those characters who the original creators of the show, like, we fucking hate these are all like stupid characters no one likes. They put them in.
Are they like
Instead of
now a
He-Man.
new focus of the show? Yeah. Oh
And
god.
it's just the way I describe it as I'm watching it is like it's charmless. There is
Right.
no charm to anything. None of the characters are likable. There's no fun. The
Mhm.
only time it's ever fun is when He-Man's on screen because he makes dumb puns like he's from the 80s. And then other characters in the episodes will lampshade those things that he's saying for being stupid. It's like, no, they're fun. This is a fun show. It's a cartoon for children.
So it's not only like not doing He-Man, it's taking the piss out of old He-Man.
It's trying to take the story too serious. It's like when you watch Michael Bay. Do you know the Michael Bay Transformers?
Yes.
And they take the source material way too seriously.
And it's
And they're
like, oh,
trying
what a
to,
dark, dour story and universe and characters. It's like, it's a bright, colourful, campy 80s cartoon that was meant to sell toys to kids.
yeah, it's okay to lean into how silly it is. That's okay. People like that. There's a reason people are nostalgic for it and they have warm memories of it. It's because that show made them feel good when it was young because it was made in this very specific way. And just while I'm watching it, I'm not having any fun. Because I've got no nostalgia for any character on screen except for He-Man.
It is
I don't
baffling
care
to
about
me
anyone's
the fact
character.
that, not like, look, the premise of focusing on other characters, fine, whatever. But the fact that you can sit there and say, like, the Masters of the Universe show isn't fun. I thought that
Yeah,
was kind of the entire point of, like, let's bring back the silly, campy, fun 80s like kind of style
and the
and
trailer did that
remaster it. Yeah.
because the trailer plays like I Need a Hero.
Right.
And it shows like just like it shows like Battle Cat and He-Man doing that I have the power and he's like firing rainbows out of his sword. You think, oh, this is just gonna be it's gonna be dumb, campy action. And then I
Hmm.
read an interview with them where like the animation studio, what's your main influence for this anime? We want the fight scenes to look like anime. And then I
But
watched the
it's
fight
He-Man.
scenes.
It's not anime.
But at the same time, I thought maybe that could work. Because I went back after I'd watched I watched, because it's a 5 episode miniseries. I went, am I just being too elitist here, or do these fight scenes just look really bad and stilted?
Hmm.
And I went back and I watched like a couple episodes of Avatar, and then I thought to myself, well, Avatar's not fair because Avatar's a fucking masterpiece. It's
Hmm.
not fair to judge the fight scenes in anything with the fight scenes in Avatar, even though Avatar had like 20 fucking episodes per season.
Yeah.
And this has got 5 and it's got Netflix behind it and it's got like the most bombastic voice cast in history. I'm like, whatever, you know what? I'll go look at a fight scene from what's another show with a bombastic voice cast and like with a limited season? Invincible. Let's go watch a fight scene in Invincible. Oh, this looks really good. What's another one? What about She-Ra? What are the fight scenes look like that? These are incredible.
Hmm.
So fluid. Like, look great. Go what? And I think the way it's set up is when like you see a sword get knocked out of someone's hand, the sword goes like you could see it's got like 2 frames of animation as it flicks through the air. And it's like, oh come on, it doesn't look. There's no fluidity to this combat. It looks so stiff and stilted, and then all the characters are boring and they don't talk and they don't have fun and there's no puns.
And
And
that's
they're
one.
treating the story like it's fucking Shakespeare.
Yeah, like that. I totally understand what you mean because I had the kind of opposite experience where I, for the first time, like this year, watched Cowboy Bebop, and like to clarify, very much like the show. I don't think like when I've watched like modern anime as well and have that perspective that it's the greatest anime of all time, like many people say, but it's very, very good and it's very enjoyable. But I watched the animation and saw how fluid it was and was like, holy crap, the level of like detail and animation in this from something in the mid 90s,
Yeah.
like 25 years ago, and it's like that's the word, fluid.
Yeah,
Like,
there's
oh,
I'm
so
not
smooth.
skilled enough at like breaking this sort of thing down, and I've not watched enough of it to know what the problem is. But you look at it, and it just looks stiff.
Hmm.
And like I said, I went and I watched just while I was sat there on Netflix scrolling. I went, well, there's a bunch of stuff recommended in the bottom. I'll watch some episodes of She-Ra, and She-Ra, like the animation in that it's no, there's some episodes where it doesn't look great,
Hmm.
but for the fight, they put the money where it's needed in the fight scenes. And then I
Yeah.
thought, well, I've got Crunchyroll for a bit. I watched like an episode of My Hero Academia. I thought, well, again, it's not really fair to compare that to like the most popular anime in the world with a bunch of money behind it. Let's go watch the first season. I went, no, they still put the money in the fight scenes. The fight scenes still look good. What about like, some random crap on just Netflix? Just some like some old anime. I'll flick through some old shit from the 80s and stuff. Yeah, it all looks good. Like,
Well,
where did the money go? It's like, oh, the voice cast.
again,
Then
like I think something quite comparable.
is
I've not
She-Ra.
Well,
Oh, I wish he just looked like She-Ra.
the thing
She-Ra's
is,
awesome.
I wasn't even going to say She-Ra. I was going to say another animated, limited time Netflix series,
Castlevania,
Castlevania, and look
which
at the
looks
animation in
incredible.
Castlevania.
Why does it look like that?
Oh man! And as you say, yeah, the budget has clearly gone in the voice cast, and like things like having Kevin Smith as one of the producers or at the helm or whatever his role is, and yeah, getting all those big names in is probably where a lot of the money went. But
But do you know what I'd rather preferred? I'd rather prefer the show to look better and have it be fun. Because I'll tell you now, for like me and my girlfriend, we watched She-Ra, we had a massive smile on our face in every fucking scene of that show because it's just fun.
mhm.
It's just the characters have fun and they poke fun at the universe itself. Like when She-Ra becomes She-Ra, someone asks her, "Why do you walk around as She-Ra?" She said, "Well, She-Ra's got better hair." Because she's like 8 foot tall with blonde hair. It's
Yeah.
like she's got better hair. And they have like there's a character in it called Bo, and his outfit is a redesign of like his bad outfit from the 80s, where he has his midriff showing at all times. And they have a running gag is that he always has to have his midriff showing. And they have like an episode where it's like, oh, they're going to a fair, not a fair, a fete, and it's like a party of all the different kingdoms. And
Ah.
he walks in his suit, and he's wearing a cummerbund, and everyone looks at him and goes, and then he takes the cummerbund off and exposes his midriff, and they're like, ah, there we go. Or there's like another episode where he's like trying to reach for something, goes, can't quite reach, and he looks down, he pulls off part of his hands to expose his midriff, and then he can reach a bit further. It's like little things like that. I mean, it's self-aware enough, but it makes sense that they are because this is being made by people who were fans of the original.
Mhm.
And it's been watched by people like myself who have not, they're not really too familiar with the universe, but you know, I'm here for a good time. And then fans of it will get those little jokes.
Yeah.
And then I watched He-Man, and it's just it takes itself so seriously. And the only
Yeah.
character who doesn't is barely in it, and it's He-Man.
And that's really sad to hear because, like,
I was really looking forward to when I saw that trailer and I heard we need a hero.
well, I was hoping for fans of He-Man and for people watching that it would be that old camp, like fun, just ridiculousness. But the fact that I saw people review bombing it, I know
Because it
for
has
a
a
fact
woman in
that
it,
it's
yeah.
because of the woman being a main character. Yeah, like
And
I
that's one of the
get it.
reasons. And it's why I've spent 20
But,
minutes explaining my reasonings for not liking it,
mm,
because I don't like it for that. Like, I love the show She-Ra because it's fucking good. And it's well written, and the universe, even though it is silly, they treat it as if it's silly. They let
mhm.
you know that we're in on it too. We know this universe is silly. Just join us for the ride.
And like I imagine just a lot of the jokes of like the kind of wink, wink, nudge, nudge. We know like kind of jokes, and it doesn't sound like He-Man's that at all.
It's also that thing as well of like it has a eclectic voice cast, but the problem with He-Man is like Lucas. What does Skeletor sound like? Tell me what Skeletor sounds like.
Yeah,
Yeah, and who else sounds like that?
I don't know.
Nobody. Whose voice do you hear when you hear Skeletor?
Oh, Skeletor, yeah,
You hear Skeletor,
yeah.
right? Yeah. That's the noise that is Skeletor.
Hmm.
And do you know the guy who does the voice of Skeletor? He's still alive.
I remember you mentioned this. Like they didn't
He's
get Skeletor back, did they?
no Skeletor's still alive, but they get Mark Hamill to do Skeletor.
Hmm.
And do you know who Skeletor sounds like now? He sounds like the Joker. He sounds like Mark Hamill.
Right, yeah.
And you can hear when you hear Skeletor speak, I go, "That's a good Skeletor," but that's Mark Hamill.
Yeah.
I just hear Mark Hamill.
And like that's the thing is, Mark Hamill is a fantastic voice actor, but a lot of the time with
It
the
sounds
different
like
roles
Mark
he
Hamill.
does, like you can hear that twang of Mark Hamill.
Yeah, you know it's him. And it's
Yeah.
the same with like all the other voice casting. It are all really good, but they're all celebrities. So I hear their voice. Like when you watch like the difference between watching a Pixar movie and a DreamWorks movie, where a DreamWorks movie just gets celebrities in to sell it. Like, do you know, you
And
watch like
they just
Despicable
do
Me,
their own voice.
and then but Pixar, like, they do get a couple of celebrities in, but they, you know, something like Monsters Inc., where
Mhm.
John Goodman is just talking like John Goodman, but you hear him as Sully.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to describe it, but it feels like when I watch Sully, I hear Sully. And when I see Mike Wazowski, I don't hear Billy Crystal, I hear Mike Wazowski.
Well, when
When
I
I'm
last night watched The Big Lebowski, I didn't sit there going, "Oh, look, it's Sully." Like I have obviously watched it in the past and know who John
Mhm.
Goodman is, but like I don't sit watching Monsters Inc. going, "That's John Goodman." I don't sit watching John Goodman going, "That's Sully."
No, and there's just, and I'm not sure what it is they do. Maybe like he probably does do something with his voice, and the voice direction for Pixar's probably really fucking good.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
when I was sat there watching Masters of the Universe, and just like I just hear the celebrities' voices each time,
Yeah.
with the exception of the guy who plays Skeletor, who's in the show. In the first episode, he has a cameo and they kill his character. So they brought in the guy who does the voice of Skeletor, give him a cameo, and then kill his character.
And
It's
then
like,
gave
just let him
Skeletor
do
to
the
somebody
voice.
else.
Just let him do the voice. Make Mark Hamill voice the fucking cameo character.
Mm-hmm.
I know that's a really petty thing of like, yeah, I know you can let someone else like pick up the mantle, but when the person they're letting pick up the mantle is already an acclaimed, famous, successful voice actor, it's not like you're giving a newbie a chance.
Mm.
You're just handing it off to someone who's got more money. Like Mark Hamill's more successful than the original dude who does the voice.
Yeah, and I get that. Then that is just a power, like the power of celebrity and the power of names, like bringing people in. But at the same time, like
I'm not watching
Skeletor
that show for Mark Hamill. I'm watching it for Skeletor.
Skeletor's voice is so iconic.
Iconic, yeah. There's a great bit like where they're talking about like again in that Toys That Made Us episode where they have an interview with that dude, or maybe there's a making of documentary about He-Man as well. So I get these two things mixed up in my mind. But they talk about it and they say when I think it's Alan Oppenheimer came in and he did the voice, they originally expected him to do like a growling monster voice.
Right.
And he just opened his mouth and the wah came out of his mouth and they're like, that's Skeletor. And
I
they
will say though,
about,
right then you did sound a bit like Waluigi. You were like,
a little bit. I can't do the Skeletor
yeah, of
voice.
course we can't, yeah.
You can't, that guy can, and he's still alive. But they talk about how when he made that noise and he told that voice, that's Skeletor. And they have a entire 5-minute section of other voice actors talking about how that's Skeletor now. It's fucking genius. He did something with the character we never expected. And they get to Mark Hamill and he just does growly monster voice.
But then in the same, like, I will argue as well that this is not specifically something to do with like the actors involved, because like if they rebooted Batman the animated series, like the 90s Batman, and they didn't bring back Mark Hamill, I'd still be pissed. Like,
yeah,
because that Joker voice is iconic.
Yeah, and there has been other people who voice Skeletor, but they've never been as good.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't get why, when the guy's still alive and he's in the show, they've got him in the recording, so just get him to do the Skeletor voice.
That's the thing, isn't it? Because a lot of the time when things like that happen, it's oh, well, he had a falling out with the production company and they've...
he's too old.
They're too old and they can't do the voice, and...
Yeah,
there's always something behind the scenes. But no, it's a guy willing to come back, could do the voice still. Like, every single like box has been checked, but they didn't get him in.
And it's one of those things when you look at it and then you read interviews with Kevin Smith, he talks about, I really want to pay homage to the original. So then why didn't you let Skeletor be in it? Because I would have watched it if it was just dumb fucking, like, similar like shit. I want to see these characters in this universe having fun. I want it to be like, you're playing with action figures.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want you to take this universe seriously, because the people who take this stuff too seriously are the people who are fucking review bombing it.
Yeah.
And I get the feeling like Kevin Smith, he treats it like it's high art.
Mm-hmm.
And that might be his problem. Because have you ever seen that really embarrassing tweet from him where he's talking about Avengers?
Maybe, but I can't think off the top of my head. I can't remember about it specifically.
Yeah, so in a similar way, like Avengers and all Marvel movies, they are dumb fun. They're not high art, are
they? They're popcorn flicks. And some of them are fantastic films, and they are great popcorn flicks, but they are popcorn flicks.
Yeah, there is this really, really embarrassing tweet from Kevin Smith where Joe and Cap catches Mjolnir.
Yeah.
You know that shot? Do you remember it all that well? Do you remember the color grading of that scene?
That's a fantastic scene, yeah.
Do you remember like the color grading of that scene?
Not color grading specifically. That's like, I know it's very muted kind of colors.
It's all brown. Cap's in America. It's like his outfit, you can barely tell that it's blue, red, white, and blue.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Smith took that screenshot, and I'll find the tweet now because it reads like someone. It reads like someone from like Film Theory, not a professional movie maker.
Right.
So, riff for a moment, Lucas. I'll try to find this.
That's the thing is, when you say it, like Film Theory, it's like, yeah, they aren't professional filmmakers, and they will admit that themselves. It's not a dunk on Film Theory, but Kevin Smith is like a director, or writer, or producer. Like, he is a professional, like, successful filmmaker. Yeah.
You know what I'm actually going to do now? I'm just going to send you the tweet.
Okay.
Would it be fun? Like, I want you to read it out, Lucas, and I want you to try and pretend. No. I want you to try and read it out as simply as you can. How do you share a tweet? I see it here.
There is a share thing. I just still had the puppy poop Roomba picture like up and full screened when
Yeah.
it
So
tabs back
Lucas.
over to Discord.
So what I want you to do now, Lucas, I want you to just read out the tweet now.
Oh god, it does. It starts with the word religions, Karl. Oh.
Yeah, and I want everyone to like just think this is Kevin Smith tweeting about the picture of Captain America holding Mjolnir in his hand. A scene from a film where a drunken, overweight god of thunder, an alcoholic man in a war crime suit, and a man who's been buffed up by like Nazi steroids from World War II go beat up a purple alien from the future. Just read out the tweet, Lucas.
Okay. So it's like, at that Kevin Smith, religions have been founded on the Bible, resulting in millions of people deriving inspiration and moral strength from amazing stories about fantastic feats of faith. Hundreds of years from now, our descendants will find divine inspiration from the story of Cap wielding Mjolnir.
And doesn't that more than anything just give you a glimpse into what he thinks about like comics and that kind of entertainment where he legitimately thinks it's high art?
Like, he is comparing it to the founding of a new religion.
Yeah. He's comparing like just all religions, I guess, in their scope and their impact on culture as a whole to the 20-second Marvel movie. And I think that's just emblematic of his approach to this sort of thing, where he probably thinks the same thing about He-Man. Where he's like, no, He-Man is so important to some people, we have to treat this with reverence and respect. It's like, you can just make fun of it.
Yeah.
It's very silly. It was designed to sell toys.
And look at the legacy that it has online now. People make fun of He-Man and love He-Man for that
It's
reason.
memes. It's memes.
Yeah.
And
like,
it's
my
okay that it's
first
that.
real exposure to He-Man, other than maybe when I was a kid and I don't remember it,
Is that video. The,
all of the
hey,
memes. Yeah.
Oh, it's all those like out of context clips of him
Exactly.
like putting chains back together because he's
Yeah.
He-Man. Or the theme song,
All the theme song, yeah.
which
And
they don't play. And
you
that's
know
like that's
what?
when
You know what, Carl? I need to mention this. Space Jam 2 does not include the Space Jam song.
Oh, it's worthless, isn't it?
Come on, Slam, and welcome to the jam. Where is that in Space Jam 2? Like, I haven't even watched it because fuck that movie. Fuck that advert. That 90-minute, 2-hour advert, whatever the fuck it is. But come on and Slam and welcome to the jam, Carl. Where is it?
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's just you don't have to take these things so seriously. And
No.
that's I feel like he does because he feels like and in a way it actually makes like the grounding that these things stand on seem weaker. Because it's almost like you don't want them to be criticized. You don't want people to poke fun at them. Which makes them say, "Oh, they can't stand on their own as art." Like, sometimes art can just be for entertainment.
Mm-hmm. And like
someone,
that is
okay,
beyond rose tinted glasses that you're looking at He-Man going, oh well, it's high art that can't be criticized kind of viewpoint. Not saying that's exactly how he's putting it out there, but he is treating it with a reverence and respect that it probably does not deserve.
that it doesn't deserve, and is, if anything, it does a disservice to the content because you're treating it so seriously that it's no longer fun.
It was a marketing campaign for toys.
Yeah, and it's like whenever we talk about Transformers, I think we had a Transformers Wiki weekend
Mm-hmm.
where I keep saying, "Oh, look at how much story is given to this giant truck." I legitimately got complaints from people in like emails and stuff telling me, you need to stop just referring to Optimus Prime as just a truck because his story. It's like I get it, you like Transformers, but it was a thing to sell toys. It's okay if people don't treat it seriously. That's okay. It's okay for things just to be entertainment.
Well, it's like when they rebooted Power Rangers and they took that shit just at
So
such face value. And I'm like, why?
it's so much less fun when you
so
treat it like
dumb. Like, I go back and rewatch the 90s Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie, not the new one, because the 90s one just camps it up so fucking much and doesn't care.
it knew what it was. It knew what it was, and it knew what its audience was, and it
Yeah.
didn't try to be anything more than that.
Yeah, exactly. And
And
that's
I'm not
why
saying
I don't think they're the great movies. I don't think they're good movies. I think they were obviously necessary to get the reboots that happen. But like those Joel Schumacher, is it? The films, the Batman
Yeah.
movies.
Oh, they're top tier.
They are awful in a great similar way. Of just
Yeah,
they were full on like bad movies. Don't get me wrong, but when you go back and watch them in the vein of the
they're so
mindset of
fun.
just campy Batman silliness, it is
Yeah,
fun.
they're so fun to
And
watch.
the bat nipples are stupid, but fuck it, it's
But
a comic book.
and as well, they are aware of it because they have it like front and center. Like the movie is aware of how silly these things are. It's aware of how inherently silly the idea of a man dressing like a bat is.
Like you can have the Chris Nolan take on it, and I love the Chris Nolan trilogy, but you can also have a comic book stupid Batman wearing hockey ice skates, like pulling out a bat card and being like, "Yeah, it
And
pays for
even the
everything."
Christopher
Like,
Nolan ones still had some funny stuff in there. Like you had the Morgan Freeman bit of like, so you're trying to tell me the richest man in the world goes around dressed like a bat and you're trying to blackmail him?
goes around the bat beating up criminals on a whim, and you're gonna blackmail him. Yeah, I
They
love that
still
bit.
have those moments of levity and those moments of like looking at that's what we know.
Hmm.
We know we're making a stupid movie in here.
Hmm.
I get it. It's a comic book, but like, and it's I compare the Marvel movies to the X-Men movies, where
Mm.
the X-Men movies try to treat the source material so fucking seriously.
Hmm.
And they even have a line in the first X-Men movie where Wolverine's like, "Is this my costume? What were you expecting? Yellow spandex?
It's
Why
like,
not?"
yes, I was expecting yellow spandex. Why the fuck not?
And then you fast forward to 10 movies down in that series and they're wearing the yellow spandex. It's like it's almost like they realized they saw Marvel movies succeeding, embracing the campiness and the fun stuff and
Hmm.
the elements of the characters that they've got in their world that people enjoy and leaned into it and found success doing that.
Yeah, and you look at the difference between like Phase One Marvel and Marvel now. Of like there was that bit of leaning in and that bit of edging out with Phase One Marvel, where they're like, we want to treat it with a bit of seriousness, a bit of groundedness, and now they're like, fuck it, open the
Yeah.
gates.
So you just look at Thor 1 and 2 compared to Thor now.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
you look at
Perfect
Thor
example.
1 and he talks like he's in a Shakespeare movie. Like they make fun of the way he talks in Avengers,
Hmm.
and now he's going to be in like an 80s inspired like fucking heavy metal movie, and he's wearing like fucking aviator shades and wielding Stormbreaker, and this it's got like a heavy metal soundtrack, and it's like, yeah, that's awesome.
Yep, it is. God.
Like you know what? These things they can just be fun,
Yeah,
and I don't think
100%.
like Kevin Smith can do that. I think that he respects them too much to poke fun at them, which
Right.
makes them seem too like it's almost like someone who's like they like do you know, if people really like anime and they will never
Yeah.
hear a bad word against it. And it means that all discussions of it are either praising it or talking about how good it is. It's like, well, now the discussion's kind of boring. It's one-sided.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and I kind of roll my eyes at that kind of person as soon as you mention like, oh, you know the person that takes anime too seriously is like, oh, I don't want
Yeah.
to have a conversation with that person.
Or people who take just comic book movies too seriously.
Yeah, same. Yeah,
Like they every time you try and have like a silly discussion of like, oh, like you point out a plot hole. Oh, it makes sense if you know it's like, oh god. It's like you can like something and still think that some bits of it are silly or that there's plot holes in it. Like we wouldn't be talking about it if we didn't like the thing.
and someone in my chat just mentioned like the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies as well, and like the first one just
Fucking,
being
top tier.
oh, like
Top
the first
fucking
two
tier.
just being so just campy and comic
That's
book.
that's what you want.
Yeah.
Like when you have that like brief snippet of like, just the vignettes of the people on the street and you have someone singing the original Spider-Man theme song.
Hmm.
And you have it, and it's just a little moment where it's there. So, that's for you. That's for the people who like this.
Hmm.
That's just a little bit. That's a knowing nod to you, the audience, who like that original like dumb, silly like cartoon.
Yeah.
And it's okay if you liked that. You get your reference too.
Yeah. Exactly.
And I imagine if you when they booted up in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man and he's making his outfit, and then like someone walks in and tells him like, "What you making it red and blue?" No, tactical black all the way.
Well, I mean, let's not
Imagine,
talk about Night Monkey, but that's the thing is like that's the difference, isn't it? Because Marvel put that black Spidey suit in Far From Home. No, Far From Home, yeah, because the next one's like No Way Home, yes. Um, they in Far From Home put like the black tactical Spidey suit in, but then it's like, oh, I don't want to wear this. Why am I
He
wearing a
doesn't.
black suit? And like, oh, look, it's Night Monkey, and like they poke fun at that kind of stuff.
Can you imagine though if like no the same executives who like very clearly sat over the shoulders of the people making the first X-Men movie, where I think they did want to put in the original costumes at first, and they got told no.
I think
And
so, yeah.
they did early screen tests with the original costumes, and they were told they don't look good. Audiences won't like it. Can you imagine if they were what sat on the shoulders of the people making Spider-Man when he makes his costume, or like the Green Goblin, and you have
God, yeah.
Willem Dafoe just swanning around like a dickhead in the green. Like, no, it doesn't look cool enough. And like, even then, there was still some elements of that where like they made it a military thing, and they could have very easily made that like a just tactical, boring ass suit, like they did in the fucking reboot, and it looks terrible.
Yeah, and that's the thing, isn't it? You've got different levels of campiness and stupidness and embracing comic books in different ways. Well, in like the current Spider-Man trilogy and the Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy to various degrees of success.
Yeah.
Then you look at Amazing Spider-Man and they went too hard in on seriousness and
Because it
taking.
came out after the Nolan trilogy, and like, well, people like how realistic Batman is. Like, well, Batman doesn't have spider powers. His rogues gallery is ninjas and people who punch things. Spider-Man's rogue gallery is a wrapped in a rhino suit.
Yeah, but they had to make it the big mechanical rhino suit that a man sits inside of, or they had to just with like Electro, they had to just make him a man made out of electricity rather than a guy in a green and yellow spandex suit with like electric pointy bits on his head and just shooting the. Yeah, I love it.
Like they straddle. They tried to have their cake and eat it too in regards to their designs.
Yeah,
And it's one of the things like for me, it's very difficult to pinpoint issues with that, but that's one of them. If you look at just the costume designs of the filmmakers had no faith that audiences would like the original.
but like you fucking put the actual Mysterio on outfit in Far From Home, and people loved it.
Yeah, and do you know what?
They've got a fishbowl head on it, and people are losing their shit because it looks so cool.
Because they thought about, okay, so how do we give him the fishbowl, but like still have it in universe explanation why he'd wear it? And they do, and it's fucking great.
Yeah, it is.
And that's why I like they could have so easily fucked up those Raimi movies if they gave the Green Goblin costume. They could have made that look so much more. And I believe there are early versions of that costume that look fucking awful.
Right, yeah.
Because they took the goggles out because they wanted to see Willem Dafoe's face.
Well, and that's how they had to do it constantly, isn't it? Of those movies where, because they couldn't emote Spider-Man's eyes, for example, that's why Spider-Man's constantly getting his face mask torn.
So you can see his face, yeah.
Because you can't, like, you don't want your main character to not be showing emotion.
But it works. It works if you've got a good actor and you believe in the source material. It's like, I like a good example is like The Mandalorian, where you've got a main character who barely speaks and never takes a helmet off, and you still know.
By the end of that first season, I still gave a crap about them.
Yeah, and you could do the same thing with like superheroes. But I remember there was early stuff like the Green Goblin costume, where it wasn't that they put holes in it; they made it a rubber mask. And they were going to say that you mute it. Do you ever see like the rubber mask with like eyeballs and stuff like that? And it was just too weird. And it had like motors in it so he could emote. And I think it was Sam Raimi or something. I just pointed out, well, Willem Dafoe is a great actor. Even if you put him in a plastic mask, he'll still be able to emote and act because he's a good actor. Just let him act. Let him do his fucking job.
And all you need is that like little hole in his mask where you can see.
You don't even need that. You don't need to see his mouth at all. You just need to see his mannerisms.
Yeah,
it's great.
true.
I love it so much.
Fucking chew on that scenery, Will.
Do it, just gnaw on it. Gnaw on that scenery in that fucking Green Goblin costume.
I love how green
out
it is.
am I? It's so good. It's like those movies are so fucking fun. And I every now and again I'd rewatch them and it's like, yeah.
And then you just like cry out about Spider-Man 3. Well,
what's the one? Do you
it had its moments, but
do you ever have the desire to rewatch Amazing Spider-Man? Ever? Because it's not fun, is it? It's just it browbeats you into just like just an emotional stupor and like cool. And I feel the same way about He-Man. Where it's not fun, it's not campy. None of the characters are likable. I have no nostalgia for it because the one thing I've been nostalgic for is not in it. And I feel bad because people who have the same thoughts of me are going to be lumped in with all those weirdos online who hate it because there's a woman in it.
Yeah.
And the thing because the woman character in it is really fun because they have Evelyn, who's a character who's not really explored in much of the original He-Man stuff. It's like I would love to see her and like Skeletor's interact. I would love to see more interaction between these two characters who are fun.
But no.
Nope.
Oh well.
So Lucas, anything to plug?
Yeah, sure. I'll just do my usual like round of plugs, I guess, of like, you know, you can find this and my gaming content on like YouTube, Legend of Kanto. I'm on Twitch at Legend of Kanto. And then I guess just like
On
in
Twitter,
terms of
Legend of Kanto.
Kanto Legend _
Kanto Legend.
Karl.
Forgot. Been too weak.
And then yeah, you can just like also send questions over to karlscornerqa@gmail.com for the Q&A episodes that we do.
And we'll get around to doing another one of those, no doubt, at some point in the future when enough of those questions filter in. So that'll be linked below. And for mine, just Google at Karl Smallwood. You'll find something that I make that you can go watch, and it all adds to the online persona that I've built, and will no doubt result in me making money at some point if I can ever figure out a way to monetize the fame and audience that I have.